Okay.
Welcome downstairs.
I know.
So, Emily, if I know, David, we only have you till 9:15.
You know, I can stretch it.
Okay, so then I'd love it if Emily, if you come and join us. Good morning, everybody. You're here. It is Thursday, April 27th, and you're here in Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. And today we are looking at some bills other than booze and cannabis. This morning we are being introduced to H213, and then we're going to look at revisit H157 and go back to labor bills. So with us this morning, we have the reporter of the bill, Emily Krasnow, to walk us David will walk us through the bill, but Emily to introduce high-level introduction of the bill. If you just be kind enough to introduce yourself and give us the high-level picture of what this bill does, what it accomplishes, and what columns it's on.
Of course. Well, for the record, Representative Emily Krasnow from South Burlington. And thank you so much for having me down here today. So yeah, H213 would create a study committee to look at the current landscape of mobile homes and mobile home parks in Vermont. The study committee would review how mobile homes fit in with Vermont's housing portfolio and examine current legislation that oversees how mobile homes are treated in terms of property. Mobile homes are a crucial component of Vermont's affordable homeownership opportunities. According to Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity, mobile home program advocacy groups, mobile homes make up 7% of the Vermont housing stock. Mobile home communities are in every county in the state and in nearly every community. Currently, there are 236 registered manufactured home communities, or MHCs, in Vermont. These communities provide accessible, affordable housing for Vermont's residents with low lot rent payments far below current 2-bedroom apartment rates in Vermont. Despite the clearly critical role that mobile homes play in Vermont's affordable housing landscape, there has been a history of underinvestment by the state in supporting those communities in a variety of ways. Additionally, there remains a stigma around mobile homes. The study committee would examine this, working together with stakeholders as we look to preserve and support these communities. And then I believe, David will do a walkthrough, so I won't do that. And then, yeah, we heard our list of witnesses. We heard from Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity, Housing Division Director, Department of Housing and Community Development, Legislative Council, Housing Program Coordinator, Mobile Home Parks, Department of Housing and Community Development, Mobile Home Program Director, CVOEO, and Director of Policy and Special Projects, Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, and the bill sponsor, the rep from Colchester.
Great.
Thank
Terrific. We work, do lots with mobile home parks in this committee, and so we're well versed on their important niche in our affordable housing market. Do any committee members have questions, or should we have David walk us through the bill?
I do.
Yes.
I have on my nasty money chairs hat. You have a study. Do you have an approved appropriation for the study?
We do. Rep. Looney reported on the appropriation aspect of that. David, do you have the number?
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget.
Okay, yes.
Okay, that
you.
was my
Sorry.
question.
Yes, yes, it is. There is an appropriation involved.
Yeah.
Randy.
Just a question. Who is the Housing Foundation?
Housing Foundation Incorporated.
Mhm. That's Dick Williams. What was Dick Williams, and now it's a huge owner of a number of mobile home parks. It's the state authority. It's a foundation that is it's an owner of many parks. It's a nonprofit owner of many parks.
But that was going to be my next question. Is I didn't see anybody there representing people who lived in or operated mobile homes, and if that
They operate
goes with
mobile
that,
homes.
then I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
I believe that's correct, right?
Yes.
Right. And Dick Williams, you remember Richard Williams was the chair of that board when he also ran the Vermont Housing Authority. So it's the nonprofit that owns many of the mobile home parks. They own ours in Woodstock.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, I just have a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you for this, and I very much support this. And the largest mobile home park is in Tri-Park, actually 3 parks.
Right?
Is in Brattleboro,
That's what I
my
hear.
district, and I'm gonna ask to be on this.
Oh,
If it
good.
goes through. If that's
Nice.
appropriate to say at this point.
I think it's
'Cause I
appropriate
wanna-
to say.
I wanna
I think
work
it's
on it.
great to have
great.
somebody who's interested
Yeah,
in
no,
doing this work.
it's super important.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Well,
And-
thank
Thank
you.
you for your work.
you.
Thank you, Emily. And David, if you, I know your time is tight, would be, if you'd be kind of to come and walk us through. And we'll, thanks, Miss Emily.
Should I say or?
You don't need to if you don't want to.
I'll stay.
You're welcome to stay. It depends on what your committee's doing.
You know,
We have tangerines.
The house doesn't have to be in there. There were 13.
Having, how many are in your committee at the moment?
12.
12, oh my God,
We
it's
have a big
grown.
committee and 9 new members.
Wow.
So they don't miss one the way we do.
Oh,
That's fair,
but
right?
they'll miss
We'll have a quorum even if I'm not here, and we start a little later.
Ah, yes. Well, David, welcome. It's good to have you in our committee again. We love it when you're here.
Glad to be back. For your record, I am David Hall, legislative counsel, one of your attorneys. This is H213, enacting and creating a study committee on mobile homes and mobile home parks. I think it's relevant for me to tell you now that the language of this bill is currently also in S100, where this committee had voted out a mobile home study.
Correct.
And funding for mobile home improvements and repairs.
That's what this committee, I don't know if it's made it through that piece of it. I'm unclear whether that full piece has made it through.
Well, it is in the House bill at this point, as voted out by House General on Housing.
Right.
And so that section of S100 combines this language plus the money. So just for your awareness, as we draw to the close and you're trying to keep track of things.
That's helpful, thank you.
Yes.
So that's, yes.
So it's all of this exactly
Yes.
in S1.
Yes, they basically took out your briefer study language, put this
And
in
put this in.
instead, kept your money.
Great.
So it's a combination, it's a synthesis relating to mobile homes and parks. So it's good to look at this language in that context and in the context of H213. They are identical, they're verbatim at this point. And as you said, who knows what happens with S100 in the end, but it's in 2 places right now. So this creates this mobile home task force. And as the reporter indicated, the purpose here is to take a holistic look after some years since it has been done at mobile homes, mobile home parks, and their place in the portfolio of housing. So it is a task force that has all of these 7. We have current House member, current Senate member, member appointed by DHCD, a member appointed by CVOEO, a member appointed by HFI, a member appointed by the speaker that represents mobile home cooperative owners, and a member appointed by VHCB. Any questions on the membership? Who they are,
No,
what they do?
it's very, so this bill, so we did a slightly different version of this and embedded it in S100 along with money for the infrastructure work and the mobile home repairs, both those. And I think it, while slightly different now, this is in entirety with this membership and everything else is right now been put back into the S100 bill that's in action in the House. Okay, So everything as we see is already incorporated in at least 2 spots, or now 1 that's moving to this. Okay, and these are the things it would address, and these are what are a bit expanded on since it left this committee.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do we ever, in terms of membership, I can think of some organizations that have good knowledge.
You can bring them as witnesses. There's,
Okay.
you know, I think,
Or let me ask, can a task force ever be structured so that the task force itself could expand its, so the task force members could decide to expand the membership of the task force?
It has been written in the past that study committees have been authorized, and some standing committees have been authorized to create subcommittees.
yes.
And then the statute, the language allows or permits the subcommittees to have non-member members.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a possibility as a construct. It's not present here, but it's possible. Otherwise, no, you couldn't just add people, but you could ask them to be there every time and participate in the discussion. And they wouldn't get a vote, obviously, but they'd have the opportunity to participate to the extent. the
We
committee
have-
wanted.
Okay.
We have many committees that work that way and have had experts in the field just present at all the meetings.
Okay.
The issue is money. It,
Oh, getting paid.
there's an appropriation in the budget for the per diem.
I see.
If you get people that get paid as part of their job to be there. But once the per diems have been set in the budget, you don't have any more money to pay them.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
But I mean,
That's helpful.
the plus is we can bring whatever witnesses you want and they can be there for as much of the time as they can. Okay, David, let's
All right.
go look at the powers and duties,
Sure.
because this is what is expanded and is different and is now currently in the House bill as it's traveling through the House
Mhm.
on its journey.
So on page 2, powers and duties, the task force shall study the current landscape for mobile homes and mobile home parks in the state, including 1 through 6, the status of mobile homes and parks within Vermont's housing portfolio, the condition and needs for mobile home park infrastructure among parks of various sizes, current statutory treatment of mobile homes, either as personal or real property, modern construction, energy efficiency and durability of manufactured housing, the availability, affordability, and suitability, lots of abilities, of alternative types of manufactured, modular, or other housing. Type and scope of data and information collected concerning mobile home residents, homes, parks, opportunities to make that data and information more centralized, accessible, and useful for informing policy decisions. And 6, conversion to cooperative ownership and technical assistance available to prospective and new cooperative owners, including the availability of guidance concerning governance structures, operation, and conflict resolution.
Any questions on that section? I think that's
good.
good.
Yeah.
You could do a skit on all the abilities.
Great minds are thinking alike. I'm thinking Cabaret 2024.
All of our abilities.
Gilbert and Sullivan, Ben Scott.
I think this is a good skill.
Yep. Okay, I've got it in my
All right.
head.
So for page,
Scott's working on it.
Scott's down. For page 3,
We have that.
But we already did it.
Oh, no, that's just
Still
one
early.
song.
All right.
That's just one. piece. Okay, page 3.
that's great.
David is
Great.
also very good in this arena
Let's see.
Gilbert and
So,
Sullivan?
well,
on anything.
you know,
He's an amazing
I've been known
performer.
to sing some Gilbert and Sullivan. So for the assistance, for purposes of scheduling meetings or preparing report recommendations, this task force will have the assistance of legislative operations, council, and JFO. A report is due on or before January 15th. It's a written report to these 2 committees with findings and recommendations for legislative action. So the meetings. So it's the House, the member of the House is charged with the duty to call the first meeting on or before September 1st. The committee will select a chair from among its members. majority is a quorum, blah, blah, blah. Task force ceases January 15, 24.
Great.
Here's a problem that we've been trying to raise and solve, and it's not happening here. We have a House member calling the meeting, which is great. That helps.
I'm not sure that's great, but it's
Well,
what is here.
it needs to be somebody, because we
Right,
need to
yeah.
avoid that confusion. So you can name it whoever you want it to be. The issue I'm flagging is that this affords the opportunity of a non-member chair, as in a non-member of this body, but you have legislative staff staffing the committee. That has been raising problems for
Why?
us.
Because
Because
it's an issue, I think for some of us, it's good to have the group choose their own chair.
Yeah.
It doesn't, we still, it's possible, as long as there are legislative members on it, isn't it possible for there to be a non-legislator chairing it? I went through the combination of liquor and lottery with a non-member
Yeah.
chair.
and I believe that was one of the problems.
I think your
What-
concern is having ledge council report to someone effectively and be directed by someone who's not.
Who's
member
not
of
a
the General
legislator.
Assembly.
Got it, okay.
And ask for legal advice and ask for a scope of work that may be different or beyond what our client's interests are. And if that person is from the executive branch, then we have
Then you have a,
separation of powers issues. So it's just something to flag that we're trying to be more mindful of.
Make the two legislative co-chairs. That's what we did in the income tax study.
That's a policy choice. I've a lot of frowny
If they
faces
get along, it works.
So it's
very
about
well.
co-chairs.
I had not realized that this had been an issue because I've seen it be effective in other task forces. And I realize I'm appreciating the problem, and the conundrum that it presents. But I also, as a member of many task forces, chafe at the notion that we're going to determine who chairs. So that is an interesting question. So
But we are
could ask for
we are
co-chairs.
providing and paying for
Right, that is
all they are our councils. They
Yeah,
are
no, I
not
get it.
lawyers
Yep, I get it.
or a group.
And it's a General Assembly created
Right.
committee. Can I ask another question? Can some of these other folks be members of the body? Like say,
Yes.
okay, so the Speaker of the House could, for example. Oh, no, but that's representing cooperative owners. But,
Sure.
but if a person meets the category, but it's also a member of the General Assembly, could they be appointed? So you could have 3 or more?
Technically, yes. I mean,
Okay.
it would be funny if, CVOEO was like, we'd like Senator Brock to be ours. I mean, it could happen.
It could happen.
So the distinction is the way it's phrased. I mean, for instance, sometimes they say a member appointed by blank representing the interests of, or an executive director of an RPC versus just a member appointed by the RPC, VAPTO.
Yeah,
In which case, it doesn't even have to be an RPC member, it's just appointed by the RPC Association. So it's the latter construct in this bill that it's just, that's the appointing authority. There's no limitation on who it is.
Given that challenge and given the time and the point in the session that we're at, I would accept the senator from Washington's suggestion. I think it's a great idea to co-chair it. And it then allows, so I would entertain that idea of the committee shall be co-chaired by the 2 legislators, or however you want to phrase it more elegantly than that. And just leave it at that
Okay.
and
But
let them call, and then they shall call the first meeting.
David, have you brought this up to the House?
Who have just, yes, embedded
Who
it in
has
another
it?
bill.
Stuck on it, because I wouldn't pass this out until we see what
Correct.
happens.
That was my
Yes.
next,
yeah.
that was my next thought, but I'm dealing with your first suggestion.
Yes.
first.
But I wondered if the easiest thing would be if the House made the change.
Well, we will hope the House will make the change.
So
So,
why don't we let them know of our concerns?
Yeah.
So let me say
Right, yeah.
generally,
Yeah.
we have been trying to flag this issue for
yes, because this
Every
is new that
committee.
you're
Yes.
flagging it,
It
quite
is
honestly.
this year, but can I tell you with 100% confidence that I've flagged that to the House Committee? I can't tell you.
Okay, I am
I
happy
think
to.
so, but I
We
don't
just-
remember.
We just did.
Okay.
So I will also, they are also, I believe, Emily will support this. House General is also preparing an amendment that they have not yet voted out to S100, and this could be included. This modest change could be included.
Yeah, if they've added this, they can.
Correct, they can amend it.
Hmm. They've already voted out this portion of S100.
But they haven't
They're
voted
working
out
on-
their amendment yet.
They're working on another amendment on
Correct.
eviction diversion,
Correct.
which is
On what?
eviction diversion.
Eviction diversion?
No, up there is a bunch of it. It has a couple issues, I understand. So they could easily add this as an additional amendment.
Sure.
In my humble opinion, having had the chair just poke his head in. So I think that, I think we can certainly ask, and it doesn't, if not, it can be part of the, what we are sure will be a conference committee on S100.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Yay.
I'm sure there will be a conference committee on S100. Either that or it'll go back and forth for several days.
I was
But
absolutely floored to hear that Ellen Tchaikovsky has never had a conference committee
what?
in 5
I-
years.
I agree.
So S100 would be her first conference committee. That would be a doozy. I
Or
think-
S5.
Or S5. You guys are gonna enjoy that.
Well,
She'll enjoy
she
that.
She is going to be entertained right through May. Okay,
Let
so,
me finish this
Yeah.
tale by saying in subsection G, you have the typical language in 1 and 2. Legislative members get legislative pay, non-members get non-member pay. The wrinkle here is this doesn't have its own appropriation in this bill.
no,
Rather, in G3, payments to members of the task force authorized under the subsection shall be made from monies appropriated to the General Assembly. So it is accounted for within your budget. And I don't remember the dollar figure they put on it, but it is small.
but David, in all honesty, most of the task forces are funded that way. Yeah, they're
That's
funded out of our
In my
kind of
experience,
pool.
a minority do not have their own freestanding appropriation. I think they did it that way here because almost all, if not all, would be
Non-legislative members.
right.
Correct. There are only 2 legislative members, and I doubt that. So thank you for that flag, but we have task forces that have specific appropriations and ones that don't, and just get paid out of the pool of legislative money when there are, that exists. So I would, so thank you.
The last thing I didn't say, it's for 6 meetings. They're approved for reimbursement and compensation for
I saw
6
that.
meetings, so.
Which is modest, which doesn't mean that subcommittees couldn't meet.
It's true.
I think that's what we did. The income tax for education on 6 meetings.
Yeah, but there were a lot of meetings in between and a lot of
No.
conversations. Well, there were a lot of conversations.
Yes. But this is, I would say, a less complex issue than changing an entire
So this,
budget.
as I look at the details, most of this is fact finding
Yeah,
as opposed to analysis. So that's very different. And so the one thing that I look at this that I think is missing is I want them to tell us what to do.
Yes, I want
Mhm.
recommendations.
I want to,
Oh,
I
yeah.
basically, just to collect
Good
most of
catch.
this data, I could have an intern do most of this.
So, okay, so I would then, Randy.
That is in subsection E, the written report with its findings and recommendations for
Okay,
legislative action.
good.
But I think that, but my sense is there ought to be something more substantive than just findings and recommendations generally, because that can mean anything. What we want to know is what's the future of mobile homes Vermont? Should we expand the use of this as to solve the housing crisis? How should we deal with siting? I mean, those are the kinds of things that we really want to know. What do we do with it and how do we fund it?
Right, I completely agree with you, but I think actually it is covered in E, because I think what we're wanting are recommendations. I mean, you could say at the beginning of C, the task force shall study and make recommendations.
So that's what I was gonna say. It's a matter of how these task force, this, the way they're usually put together, they sort of, the duties and the scope come in 2 places. One is we're creating you to look at this stuff. And the other is, we want you to issue your work product. It should be this.
Right.
And sometimes
And that's what we've,
they're weighted, more in one place than the other. I think if they're read together, it goes more to your point, but I also understand that usually, yes, there's more specific.
More deliverables that are
Exactly.
enumerated in terms of what we're
There's
looking
more
for.
specific guidance on what the work product should be and include. So I take your point.
So we have it in E. The question is, do we want to, at this point, given where the bill is? And we're asking for coach, I mean, we may be asking, and one suggestion has been to change F2. And so Brandy, you would want to add or consider adding in C on line 1, shall study and make recommendations, or where David would think it was appropriate there.
That's fine. As I say, all I'm looking for is more specificity as we can.
Okay,
This could also be like a conference.
yeah, and it also could be assumed that in E, we're going to get the recommendations we want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the problem is, as you sometimes know, that what you get at the end of the study is not what you thought you were going to
Right.
get, and that's
That's
why
true.
I'm asking for more specificity.
right,
If you want to articulate some specific things you'd like to see and tell me or send that to me, I'm happy to integrate it. Otherwise I would be inclined to just refer back to C and say specific findings and recommendations concerning the issues are,
I think if Randy's fine with that at this point,
that's up to you guys, obviously. I probably need to.
you need to go, but we do need to solve the chairing issue. If legislative, this is a new request from Ledge Council, I think.
This could be part of a bigger conversation with leadership. I don't know. I'm just the messenger here. This is sort of like from my leadership, and maybe you can.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We could talk, but.
We are, right now. Great, thank you very much.
Good to see you all.
Great to see you, thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a few minutes until we shift gears to the basic needs budget, and I'm gonna ask for us to, so at this point, what would you like to do, given the position where this bill is and what we know about the additional amendment that's coming from House General? We could ask them to change that line on page 3 about the chairing, given what David has recommended.
But won't David recommend that to them?
No, that's our job.
But it sounded,
If the bill is still in play over there, they can
I would encourage them to make that change. If you
fix it.
don't mind me having that informal conversation with
Yeah.
Tom.
yes.
Okay, great, because they need to resolve it, and we can resolve it now. It's so small and it can be dealt with easily, I hope, over there. Okay,
And I'll take a crack at just to try to do a one line that adds a little specificity on this.
okay, if you work with David on it, and then I can ask Tom at the same time, because it would be great to get in their amendment.
Yeah, and notice 5, the type in scope of data information and opportunities, make the data and information more centralized, accessible, and useful for informing policy decisions. That's reporty.
Yeah,
reportage.
but
I think that's really helpful.
the first question I wanted to ask is, what problem are you trying to solve?
Well,
I mean, and that was the first thing that came into my head when
Yeah.
I listened to this, is what don't we know? What is the problem? Or are we just doing a study committee
Oh,
because we want to do, I mean, what do we need to know?
we've already answered that in embedded this in our own bill, which is we
Well,
need
we
to know
put
this.
a study in.
We did on mobile home parks, because we need to have a better picture of the infrastructure needs of mobile home parks, both that are owned collectively, that are owned that are all forms of ownership. We have long wanted more data on this and recommendations on what we do and how we finance it. So
So why
I
don't we
think that
just
this is
tell
great.
ACCD to map it?
They
Have
are
it.
involved.
That's what I mean, and the comment that I was going to, is most of the stuff is data collection that you can have an intern do for crying out loud. Why do we need a task force to do that? In most of these cases, unless there is some action that we're looking for somebody to take or to recommend as a result of what's found.
And that's what we're
That's
asking
the
for.
piece that's missing.
my understanding is they've been neglected as a source, as an important source of housing.
I agree.
Yeah,
And
I'd agree with
that's
that.
the problem. So we're trying to
But what
define
do we
where
do-
they,
What do we do
Well,
about it?
we're defining where they fit in the picture. Part of the problem is ownership.
But what
There,
do we do about it? What do we want the
Well,
legislature
that's what
to
the
do?
task force is
in the
going to
next
address.
yeah, that's,
And the issue is, what do we do in the next session to say, here's a bunch of data that gets shoveled over without any guidance as to, well, what do you do with it?
But I think that's
I
what
think
we're
there
asking
is
for, are
guidance.
recommendations of what to do with it.
yeah, findings and any recommendations for legislative action. We've put a lot of money into
Good.
mobile homes. You all did that last
Yeah.
session, and then there's more this session.
I just think it's too vague.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to work with David with some additional language, I'd love to get it to Tom
And it's
ASAP
not
because they're voting
It's
out their
not
amendment.
complicated. The language should not be, it just adds what it is we want them to do. We want them to come up with recommendations regarding better integration, for example, of mobile homes into our housing future, determine whether or not mobile home usage to solve our house should be expanded or kept.
Right,
And it may not be, that may not be the result. I don't know what the recommendation would be.
but also the ownership and governance is really critical
Yes.
in mobile homes. But
And
do
that's
you
in,
agree that that we should be doing something to determine the problem and
Oh,
potential
well, yeah,
solutions?
but the data collection is fine.
Okay, But it's worthwhile.
You need the data collection in order to be able to come up with a set of recommendations you need to understand the landscape.
yes.
Right.
Okay.
so
and-
I think we're going to shift
Yes.
gears. I think Randy, if you take on adding that specific language and get that to me, are we okay with asking Tom also about the co-chairs for their amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then
And
I'm going to
that solves the
suggest we
problem.
stay
Find out
on task
what's the
here
committee.
and move to H157. Damien, if you'd be kind enough to join us. We have, Damien's here. We have looked at this, we have reviewed this, we've heard from Ellen Kaler. Does anyone have any concerns about the basic needs budget? Because I would be happy to entertain a motion for us to move this along and vote it out if we can today.
Same question. Is this, got money in the budget for this task force?
It does, $17,000.
It has 2 legislators or 4?
4
It
legislators.
has 4 legislators.
Yep.
Right,
It allows 1 from each party.
right. So it has money in the budget. And this is an updating piece of work that Dan and Ellen would have, that we're pretty clear we need.
Right, that's something we do every 10 years or so.
Yep, and this is sort of right on schedule, and I think this is good work. I think this is in good shape, and I think of all. So I I'm a big supporter of this work and look forward to hearing what they come back to us with. Dan, do you have anything to add? It's financed, it's in the budget, it's right. And Damien, we just had an issue pointed out by David Hall about if a task force is going to be staffed by the legislature, which this will be, do we articulate and ensure that a legislator will be chairing it? And so again, we have the same problem here that we had in the last bill that had it on page 3, line 13. It again has the same issue that David just articulated for us, that anything that is staffed by the legislature should have a legislative chair. So this is, so I don't know when that value was brought down from on high, but this bill doesn't reflect that need either.
No, so traditionally, this has been just a point of tension over the years. So I have staffed a committee that was a hybrid committee, so it had
You
legislative
and I have
members.
worked on
Right,
this
the
committee together.
liquor Liquor and Lottery Task Force was chaired by a former legislator,
Right, but not a legislator.
but not a legislator. It does create a strange issue, particularly for legislative council. Statutorily, our clients are the legislators, not non-legislators. So it does create a little bit of an issue. We could change the language in here, which would require the House to review it in order to get it across the line, and they would have to review it and concur. Or you could concur, and then the legislative members could point out that there's an issue and it should be chaired by a legislator. So a simple change here would be the House select a legislator or a legislative member
I see it.
as its chair, or shall select a chair from among its legislative
That-
members
Yeah.
at the first meeting.
Right.
Yeah, so, sorry.
So I just see Ellen has a question and Ellen's on the road. Ellen, you're welcome to ask your question or make your point.
Oh, I'm sorry. I accidentally raised my hand. I don't have any issues with this.
Okay, great. Thank you. You're, as I recall, happy with where we are with this bill and where we've landed. This is just an issue that David Hall raised in our last bill discussion.
It makes total sense to me.
Okay,
So I can draft a very quick amendment that adds the word legislative before members
great.
to that subdivision.
Thank you.
And I'll be
Are we okay
back.
with that? Terrific. I think with that, so that would be, if you were willing to bring that back, are we ready to vote this out, people?
Yes.
Okay, so if you could make that change, that would be, and then we could vote it. Would be great. Do we have a vote sheet for Miss
Yes.
Wendy? Oh, she has it. Oh my God, we're so well prepared. Thanks,
And this
Scott.
would be draft what?
1.1.
So we could move that.
Yep, we could, right? So it would be draft 1.1?
Well, no, we have to move to amend, right? To add the word legislate.
Yeah.
Tours. So chair from among its legislative members.
Right.
Yeah,
So line 13.
And we could either do that or the co-chairs for the other one.
Yeah.
I am happy with that. It's only 2 legislative members here. There's a richness of 4.
Yes.
Okay,
a richness.
I know.
like that.
thank you, darling. An abundance.
When he's a thesaurus, I'll just come down to Senate Economic Development from now on.
Right, just stick with us. Well, you have Tucker, so you don't go very far.
We do have Tucker right around the corner, so.
Smile is getting broad. I got a new word from Tucker yesterday. And it's not vestigial, because I already knew that. It's. Oh, I should have written it down. Anyway. Well, while we're waiting for Damien to do this, who would like to report that modest change? Would you- I mean, I'm happy to do it, but,
Yeah, no?
okay. Wendy, you want to report
It
this one?
doesn't, I would, but if you.
I was
want
gonna
to,
ask you if you'd be willing to report the mobile home park bill if we.
Okay, I
Yeah,
could do
Which-
that.
Which is complicated. I'm not quite sure what our recommendation is there. If it's already incorporated, we may not do it on the floor.
So then,
Yeah, so
Okay,
we may
so-
not be reporting that. But with this, we do need to report it and we are gonna have to make
I
probably this
think
one
it's-
change.
Chair, you might. I
Okay,
can do it.
yeah, but I got,
This is an H bill. We've got one amendment.
yep.
So I'm gonna run to my office really quick, just to
Okay.
make sure I'm using the right format for the Senate.
So, could we take a break then and go?
I'll bring it back
Actually, you know what? I'm just
15
gonna
minutes.
keep us on and we're just,
for
yeah,
10 minutes.
yeah.
Sure.
If we could vote this out at like 5 of 10,
Great. I'll
is
see
that
you then.
okay? Great. Let's just stay on for 1 second, just have an update on our confirmations.
Okay.
Because, I think almost all of you have.
I have one.
Great. So we have voted on, Keisha, are you with us?
Yes.
I took that up. Hi. Okay, so everybody we've done, okay. So,
Can I do Karen Sodek?
yes, so I thought maybe this would be a good moment for us to talk about the people we have been able to reach and talk about the people we haven't been able to reach and if there are additional help you need in reaching them. So, I mean, some people haven't been able to reach, but so tell me, Anne, why don't you start?
Well, I have 3 that I have been able to reach.
Great. Oh, that's terrific. Terrific. And then let's vote on.
We're having the same trouble in finance, people not calling back.
Yes, this is a problem.
It would be, I think, helpful if when the administration appointed people, they told them to expect a call from a member of the Senate if they wish to be confirmed, and maybe that would encourage them to call back.
If they want these positions, they need to be able to engage. They have to, and they have to understand they have to be confirmed.
Perhaps in the notice by the administration, the fact that they could have a no vote if they fail to contact us.
Correct. Which is where we're at the point of, I think,
We're at
with
the
some of
point
your
of.
people. So why don't we start with yours? I think you have 3. You have Karen Sodek, Bob Greenmore, and Joanne.
Troiano.
Right.
Okay, Karen Sodek is being reappointed to the Vermont Labor Relations Board. She wants to re-up. She enjoys it and says it really, her background is in human resources and that she would like to be reappointed. So I would move that we confirm the reappointment of Karen Sodek to the Vermont Labor Relations Board.
And she is one of the few people we have both a home phone number and a cell phone
Yes.
number, which was very useful,
And I called both and she called me back.
which is great. We appreciate that of Karen. Thank you, Karen. Okay, any discussion?
No, sounds good.
She's good.
And she has served for how long on that for? A while.
I don't have that. Yeah, she's been on there for a while. I've done this before. So
Yes.
I know she's been there.
So I don't think we need to do a roll call vote on it, but I think we just need to confirm. And Keisha, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear me? Am I off mute?
Okay, so all those in favor of confirming Karen Sodek to the Vermont Labor Relations Board? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. So that is a 5-0. And, okay, Bob Greenmore.
Bob Greenmore, when I was on judiciary, he was formerly known as Greenie.
Yes, he's still known
He
as
is
Greenie.
for reappointment. I think he's been on there twice before. I have a 2-time. He formerly was the court administrator, was there for years, very highly thought of. And I think I've got there, he may be being chaired this year, but I'm not sure. Because these are very quick notes. But I would like to move that we confirm the appointment of Bob Greenmore to the Vermont Labor Relations Board.
Right. Any discussion?
No, sounds good.
Thank you, Bob, for returning Ann's phone call. So all those in favor of reappointing Bob Greenmore to the Vermont Labor Relations Board?
Aye.
Aye.
Randy?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And next is Joanne Troiano.
Joanne Troiano to the Vermont State Housing Authority. Joanne is the head of the Montpelier Housing Authority. And she has been on the State Housing Authority since 1982. She likes it and would still like to
Oh my
continue.
God.
How long? 82?
82.
Wow.
Does anyone want to argue with that?
Wow, she has serious institutional memory.
Yeah. So I would like to move we confirm the appointment of Joanne Troiano to the Vermont State Housing Authority.
Wow, she must be the longest serving member.
She's been there a while, yeah. I
That's
think that's probably when she started with Montpelier Housing. She's been there as long as I've been around.
So there's a motion made. All those in favor of reappointing Joanne Troiano to the Vermont State Housing Authority, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay, good work there, Senator Cummings. Woo-hoo. Okay, Senator Brock, have you had any luck having anybody call you
I've had
back?
no luck. Of the 3 that I had initially, 2 of them had disconnected phone numbers.
Okay, and did we have any luck with Scott getting?
Yeah,
his cell phone?
Scott was successful in getting new numbers for those 2, and I've left messages with them, and I've not had calls back
Okay.
yet.
So we will, hope, as soon as you,
I haven't left a message with one because her mailbox, as I recall, hadn't been
Was
set
full.
up yet.
so enraging. I wish, people would let us know about
And
these.
I don't have any, I don't have an email for them.
Yeah, and I have not reached any of my people either, and it's not because they haven't answered the phone, it's because I haven't called them. So I still
And then
need
I have
to
a
do.
new one, I believe Marty Manahan was mine, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Marty
Yeah,
Manahan is
I
yours.
haven't done it yet.
So I have not, but I am doing the 2 commissioners and the secretary, unless somebody would like to take one of the commissioners. We'll be doing those this Friday. And Wendy, did you have any luck reaching Steve or Brian or?
I did.
Mark.
I reached both of them.
And
And
then,
they're on the plumber's examining board.
and Mark, were you able?
I know his phone number is not accurate.
And have we got Scott Unleashed investigating
I
another
don't know. I
number?
think I mentioned it, but maybe not. Okay.
Okay, great, terrific. And while you're doing that, Scott, if you'd be kind enough to see if there are cell phones for the 3 I have, Roger Donegan, Tom Nesbitt, and Corey Richardson. Great. So Wendy, why don't you
Okay, so
talk to us?
just about the process, one of the folks I spoke with, his term is up in June of 2023. So I recommend that he try to stay on. So it's crazy that we're calling them at this point in their term.
Well, the crazy thing is if we vote no, the governor just reappoints him the next day and we start all over.
So,
Okay, well, I think he should be reappointed. So,
Yes.
so let me get to
so
that.
what's interesting is they weren't, it's,
That they should have been contacted earlier.
Yeah, okay. Well, we
And-
get it when we get it from the administration.
I-
So,
I-
okay, so who
so-
would you like to do?
Okay, let me do Steve Goodrich first.
Okay,
And he serves on the plumbers examining board. He was very helpful. He's been doing this for 20 years. We talked a lot about the importance of good plumbing experience before you do get a license. And I have respected plumbers, but now I respect plumbers even more just after conversations about the gas requirements, especially. There's special
for gas lines.
skills and certifications for gas, right? Because that's a huge health hazard. I asked him, what he thinks about how things are going on. And it's a challenge when we get people from other places who don't understand Vermont's standards. And he thinks it's really important that we keep our standards high.
Great.
What the board does, they ask the folks who are coming in about the codes that they worked under. And the board can require that they go to classes about to learn Vermont codes. he thinks it's important to require a certain amount of time in the classroom, but also in the field, that field work is critical because it's not something that you can just learn in a classroom, and especially older houses are very different. And Vermont employers are supposed to enroll folks in apprenticeships. So not sure that that's happening, but they should be. And as an economic development committee, we should be aware of that and encourage folks to use people who are learning to be plumbers, to use them as apprentices, because that's how they learn.
It and electricians have the two most robust apprenticeship programs.
Yes, and they should be.
Yeah.
So I recommend Steve Goodrich to continue on the plumbers examining board.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for your service.
Totally, and I said that too. And
And
then
Brian?
Brian Thomas, also spoke with him. He's been doing this for 40 years.
Oh, great. Wow. Has he been
also-
on the Journeyman Plumbers Examining Board for 30 years?
He's been doing it for 40 years. I
40.
don't know how long he's been on the board.
Okay, so he's been a plumber. For
He may have been on the board for 40 years, actually. It's a booming market. Heat pumps are actually taking up a lot of people's time.
Right?
Again, we talked about the gas certified, how important that is. And he mentioned that we should not lower the bar.
Yes, that reinforces what Steve
All
said.
over the state. It was really helpful to talk to these folks. And he's actually worked, and he's familiar with the educational program in Springfield.
Yeah.
The Howard Dean Center.
Yep.
Which is incredible. And he
Yeah.
also thinks it's a really important resource. So I just always make a plug for that when I can. So those are
Right.
the highlights. So I recommend Brian Thomas to continue on the plumbers exam.
Thanks, Dan. Any comments? Great. I would ask that those who support the reappointment of Brian Thomas vote aye.
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 And those opposed. Great. We have reappointed and Mark,
Technically, you were recommending to the Senate.
we are recommending it to the Senate to confirm, and we will confirm all of them as a group, the ones we have discussed and voted on. Mark Gregor,
He's the one I haven't been able to reach.
and so we're gonna try and get another number for him. Keisha, have you been able to touch base with Brian O'Benjamin or Alex Farrell?
Yeah, so Benjamin O'Brien, folks may know, just a long time firefighter, very involved in Chittenden County, gave me my first tour of one of the fire stations when I was a new legislator 15 years ago. Still very involved and would like to continue serving. I forgot about Alex. I mean, as folks may know, he should be easy to reach for me today. So I just texted him because that was a newer addition. So I'll try to get an answer on Alex and send that to you, Allison and Scott, today.
Oh, good. And if we can't, maybe we can fit it in tomorrow. Anyway, for the calendar tomorrow, I'll just make sure that hopefully everybody here gets.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just
so
imagine
then-
he's, the administrative liaison and would want to continue serving, but I'll just confirm that.
So, but Benjamin wants to continue. How long has Benjamin served? Oh, quite a while?
I think quite a while. I do think quite a while. I don't remember now. My brain is foggy. But
Okay.
this is a continuation for sure, and he'd love to continue.
Great. So you're recommending that we recommend to the Senate to confirm the reappointment of Benjamin O'Brien.
Yes.
Great. So all those in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Great. So I think we take all these appointment sheets and send them up to, great, terrific. Thank you. And, Molly Gray, we don't.
That was an older.
Oh, that's an older, okay, that's for Steve, Karen, okay, great. Terrific. Thank you, everybody, that's helpful, and oh my gosh, our timing is perfection. We just finished our recommendations on confirmations. So we're now ready to turn back to this.
So let's see if Keisha has any comments before we move on the.
Oh, Keisha, we are considering a change that legislative council's asked us to make on our work on all task forces, that if legislative staff are assigned to assist a task force, that we have a legislative chair or co-chair assigned to the committee, that the language needs to change, and that they are asking that we articulate that if a chair or co-chair needs to be chosen from its legislative membership. And so we have, do you have any other changes that you'd like to make to H-157, because we're poised to vote it out?
And
It's the
that's
basic
basic
needs
needs,
budget.
right? I'm terrible with the numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
it's the much needed update of the basic needs budget work.
And
The
we're not
technical-
talking about co-chairs with that one. We're just saying, we're just adding the
We're
language
talking Well, we're about to hear what Damien's suggestions are for draft 1.1.
Yeah, so draft 1.1 would just add the word legislative before members. There's 4 legislators on the committee. So just saying the legislative members shall be co-chairs doesn't make a lot of sense in
No,
this
you need to
case.
say it's legislative.
So, yeah, having just one chair is probably makes sense. And yeah, having worked with co-chairs in the past too, it's easier to work with one chair.
Yes, it is.
So just from a personal note there, having done a summer study committee with co-chairs, it was challenging.
It-
So,
It was
Yeah.
challenging on the,
yeah.
You are the one who recommended it, however.
I said we did it, but it is
Okay.
challenging.
So do we just look at this?
Yep.
Not a new part, not a
Okay,
new.
so this is a strike off.
Nope.
No.
So you're looking at the bill as it passed the House?
Yes.
This is the amendment.
This is the amendment.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, no,
No,
this is-
this is the.
that's something else. Scott did just hand out the
But it
amendment.
says to the,
It's right here. It's right in front of us.
yeah, so this is the amendment.
That's the amendment, yes.
Okay, this is the amendment.
Preceding the word members by inserting
Oh,
the
yes,
word
that is it.
legislative.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
My contact must be drying out. I was seeing
Well,
something different.
No, it's
So-
fine.
okay.
It's
We're
fine.
good. Okay.
I think we're good. And so I would first entertain a motion to amend H-157 with draft 1.1.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so,
I think we could just, on the amendment, let's just do.
so I'm gonna do this in this column, right?
Sure.
Sorry to, okay,
No, it's okay.
okay, so we're all saying aye.
Up on the amendment
Okay.
of draft. So we've just approved draft 1.1 to amend H-157. Now I would entertain a motion to move out favorably H-157 as amended.
Senator Brock,
Yes.
Senator Clarkson?
Yes.
Senator Cummings?
Yes,
Senator Harrison's a yes, Senator Ron Hinsdale?
Yes.
Great, vote
Terrific.
is 5-0-0.
Perfect. And it is still 1 of 10. Thank you, everybody. We are going to, so what is your pleasure while we're just all here on this co-chair chair issue? On 213, but Randy's gonna speak. I'm gonna wait for you to give me that language by the end of the day, because I need to talk to Tom. And I am going to take these up to the secretary's office, and we're gonna reconvene in 1 minute on labor. So, yeah, I'm gonna,
Longest break we've had in quite a while.
yeah, I know, biggest break you've had all week. We're just gonna, well, maybe we're just gonna, do you mind if we take a 2-minute break, Dirk and Cam? We're just gonna take a 2-minute break. Well, actually, let's be really bold and have a 5-minute break.